Hello and welcome to Lands Unknown. My name is Will, and today we are joined live by Jake and Miles from Let's Have a Bouba, and we are going to start going through the manual temperature and climate method for the Boubaverse.
Mhm.
If you want to introduce yourselves, Jake and Miles.
Yeah, I mean, I'm Miles. I'm one half of Let's Have a Booba. Um, yeah, I don't know how much detail we can go in.
Hello, I'm Jake. Most of the times that me and Miles are talking with a third person, we end up talking over each other all the time, which I think is what we're both trying to avoid right now. Uh, uh, we do a regular conlanging stream on Tuesdays, and you may also have seen me on Maddie's channel on Languages of Pillow World. Speaking of,
Well timed.
Hello, Madeline. And then those of you may recognize Jake because they're often in the comments. But also, Jake and I did a presentation together at the last World Building Festival on religion. So, yeah, so Jake is now back, and we are. Does your continent here have a name, or is Boubaverse sufficient?
It Boubaverse is sufficient. There
Okay.
is a Yatlao word for the continent, but it's because of like diacritics and stuff. I don't really use it too much. It's like Thunua, I think, like the mushroom rock.
Somnoa?
Thunua, yeah.
Somnoa. Okay.
we'll we might need to make a Boku's name because
We
Boku's
will.
has the most approachable phonology of the
Yes.
languages.
I don't know. Somnoa sounds fine. Uh, it also sounds like a noise I would make when my nose is stuffy. So.
It is a very sneezy word.
um I mean, I also have an Obsidian document open, but I can only have one thing sharing at a time, I
Mm.
believe. There's, I don't know, when my StreamYard subscription's up, maybe I'll try some other service to see how this will do. Um, but for this introduction to the series, we are going to talk about what we want. We're going to describe somewhat the different places and
Mhm.
what we can expect from these different regions, and kind of what your goals are for each of these regions. And then we can make some choices about like average temperature and, uh, global forcings and things, to see if we can make some stuff happen in
Mhm.
order to kind of facilitate what you are looking for. Uh, so we can just take a little tour first. I put this up. I mean, this is not the largest file in the world. I think he sent me like a 200 kilobit PNG file,
Ooh.
but it will work for what we're planning on doing here. And hello, Kate and Writer 2 and Tinguish. Excellent. What was the other? Yeah, so let's get into here. So, um, we have. I have a larger file, but it is already in. Um, I forget what projection that Nikolai said, but it's preserving the shape. The projection that Nikolai chose preserved the shape. Um, so I there is one that has like all of the detail for the elevations and the names and stuff like that, as you could see from the thumbnail. Hello, Bib. Good evening. So if we start down here,
Mhm.
I have seen this archipelago before.
Yes.
And is the idea for this that it's going to be tropical?
Yes.
Yes.
Part of what uh, to be very clear with everyone, I don't think that me and Maya, like, we hadn't put the continent onto a globe.
No.
I think part of it was naively thinking that if we were only doing a small area, then it wouldn't change things too much. And then we saw what it would look like on the globe, and we were like, oh, that doesn't look like what we were quite going for. I think because like part of what defines the overall shape is that it's very wide at the top and then it's thinner at the bottom.
I mean,
And
kinda.
and then but when we saw how it was projected before we made the whole thing, we made the whole thing a bit bigger. So originally these islands were going to be at like the 10 degrees mark at the lowest point, 10 degrees north specifically. And so the long island, this one here, this is Odalu.
Yeah.
And that was always going to be tropical.
Yes.
And then part of the plan was that the island above it was going to have a more arid interior, hopefully aided by a rain shadow from the mountains on the right. So if you're wondering what the colors represent, because we shamefully haven't put a key on this.
I don't think that would really help all too much based on the pixelation and things. But yeah, so the different colors are different elevation. You have, I guess, you know, close to sea level is this grayish green, and then, you know, we're kind of like, you know, slowly moving up with green, and then this lighter beigey green, and then we start getting to the more mountainous areas in yellow with pink and white and things like that. Yeah, I'm not sure for this how much this mountain range will do, because you are on the equator. So during the yeah, like during most of the year, there is going to be sunlight directly hitting the landmass, and it is going to be causing that to heat up, and that is going to be creating a low pressure zone, and precipitation is going to be moving in to that area. You also, while you do have a mountain range that would block easterly winds, particularly southeasterly winds, what would happen as it comes down the other side, right? Because the air would go up, and then as it comes down, there's something called lee side orthogenesis. And this is on the lee side of the mountain. That coming down motion forces air to come in to fill the space. And that would, because it's close to humid, it's close to warm water, which is where precipitation comes from. It comes from the evaporation largely of ocean water. You're going to have moist air filling in that space and probably causing precipitation. The best that we could probably do in this area maybe is make a climate where in some of the months you don't have as much precipitation, but if we're using Köppen, then that would either make it a monsoon or a savanna. So
yeah, savanna is sort of what we were thinking.
But I think it'd be more likely that it would be more monsoonal and perhaps like a dry forest or something like that than, you know, what we'd imagine as a savanna with, like, you know, mixed, like an open grassland.
Sure.
I don't necessarily think that's, I don't necessarily think you'd have too much of that. And one of the reasons why I opened it up in G plates is we can go to our measuring tool
Oh, thank goodness.
And we can see how far it is, and that's like 1,000 kilometers away. So I mean, you could get some. I mean, yeah, we could get some, but I think it's much more likely that you would have coastal and interior areas that are AF, which is a megathermal climate. So every month is above 18 degrees Celsius. That is also humid all year round. So none of the months fall below 60 millimeters.
Mhm.
I think that would be more likely. I think one of our for the Patreon. Oh yeah, like and subscribe if you haven't already for more Lands Unknown. And all of the links for Let's Have a Booba are in the description as well if you want to check out all their stuff, which I recommend. So on the guild,
would the mountains still be dry,
I mean,
or are the mountains also going to be humid in this?
the mountains are also
I
going
know
to be wet.
the on both sides because of the leeward thing.
Yes, they are likely going to be wet on both sides.
Okay.
I mean, like, if we look on, you've got some of Earth on here. Like if we look on the west coast, for example, of South America, like here is a rainforest, like a pretty humid rainforest, and then on this side, you also have
Humid rainforest.
a humid rainforest, right? So, like, if you're doing that thing, and I don't know, I can like just open a file on my iPad to kind of demonstrate, or I can use one of my other existing files. Add to stage? No, I need to take away. And then I need to add to stage. All right, so this is... Oh yeah, here we go. Here's late cyclogenesis. I already did a little... This is the origin of our sun worship here on the channel.
Incredible.
Love it.
So if we... can I take away... Okay, there we go. Great. So if we just look at this,
Yes.
right, and we just have our elevation and all these kinds of things, if we use the sort of like ideal model of air circulation that we commonly see thrown around, there we go. Real lands heads will know. Then what you tend to get, what? Oh yeah. Yeah, that'll work fine. Whoop. No, it will not. Great. So what you tend to see is these sort of arrows going this way, right? And then you see arrows going this way, and then you see more arrows going this way, or something along these lines, right? If you did that and you applied it where, oh, well, the wind's going this way, so it would rain here, and then, maybe you'd get rain down here, but there would be no rain in this area. However, if we look at... all right. If we look, let's remove, let's add at Africa, for example, sub-Saharan Africa. Over here is the Ethiopian highlands. Over here is the rainforest, the Congo, right? The Congo Basin. If we applied that model where the winds are coming from this way, Ethiopia would be a rainforest. And then this area would all be arid. But that's not how things work, right? Like Ethiopia is actually much of the coast is arid, right? It's a desert. And this area is a rainforest. So rather than, thinking, so when we're thinking about what climates are going to look like in a place based on air circulation and stuff like that, we want to think about the sort of cyclones and anticyclones. And I will demonstrate that back on the iPad. Look at that. Seamless. Seamless. He's getting good. So a cyclone is spitting air out at the surface level, right? At ground level, the air is coming out. So if and the very important cyclones that we tend to see happen over the ocean. So if we have an ocean, here's an ocean, and we have a high. What is wrong with my layers? Okay, great. If we have a, it could be yellow or orange or something. Great. So we have a high pressure zone here. Is that visible? That is visible.
Yep.
The cyclone is sucking in air. Thank you. The anticyclone is going to be spitting out air. I know. And it's going to be doing that in kind of like a Nike swish. So it's going to be coming down here, coming down there. Right. So this is the pattern that we are going to kind of see. And what's happening, and then at a place of low pressure, we can make it purple, and we could have a place of low pressure up here, for example, because reasons. It is going to be an anticyclone. It is going to be sucking in air at the surface level.
Okay, that makes sense. Just from like high to low gradients, or kind of like the high pressure is the source and the low pressure is the sink.
Yeah,
got it. Okay.
So, but what's happening in height is different. So, in height, where you have, this is, here we go. In height, when you have low pressure, and it is bringing in, it's bringing stuff in, that is then going up into the atmosphere. It's going up higher. Meanwhile, our high pressure is going to be spitting air out. It is going to be spitting air out, down, from higher up. And the air higher in the atmosphere is doing the opposite thing. So the low pressure air is going to be anticyclonic up above, moving air towards where the high pressure zone is, so then it can come back down. So you have this constant circulation through different levels of the atmosphere, where air in low pressure zones is being heated. It is rising, which is what's drawing it in. It's drawing in air and rising up. And it's this process of the air rising up, which is causing it to condense and precipitate. On the other hand, the air sinking is causing it to fall down. And when it falls down, it is like gaining momentum and stuff like that. But it is also, takes a while for it to kind of pass over precipitation. Like if you've ever lived in a heat dome, you may notice that living under the heat dome isn't very windy. And that's because all of the air is, moving down around you. You'll still have like local effects, right? Like here, we live close to an ocean, so there was still like a land and sea breeze. There was still stuff happening on the ground. But the broader system was doing something a little bit different. So we're thinking about those pressure things. So when you have a landmass that is in the tropics, it is going to be receiving insulation. Land, during the day especially, is going to be heating up faster and holding more heat than the water beside it. Also, the water's moving, right? Like you heat up some water and then the water is going somewhere else.
Yes.
So there's this constant transfer of heat. And on this side in particular, if we're looking at this landmass, the current right along here is a cold current that is moving water from north to south. And what this means is that the temperature here is going to be, higher than the cold water over here. And that gradient is going to create this difference where you tend to have lower pressure in the tropics over land and higher pressure over the water. And that's kind of what creates these monsoons.
Okay.
And this is also why, and the movement of the low pressure trough that is around the tropics, the Intertropical Convergence Zone, or ITCZ, is this sort of movement of warmer, low pressure system, up and down throughout the year, based on, the insulation and these sorts of things. So this is why on the west coast of sub-Saharan Africa, we have rain and tropics, because you have a low pressure system over here that moves north and south depending on where the sun is, and it is going to be bringing in I put it right on the equator, which is not a great time, but it is going to be drawing in precipitation from these different areas. And that's so that's one of the considerations that we need to take when we're thinking about these planning out climate and stuff, just based on the maps that we're working from. And especially if something is like in this tropical region, it is surrounded by warm water that is going to be evaporating. You're going to have land and sea breeze action happening. So, like your land here is going to heat up during the day. That is going to cause air to rise. It's going to bring in moist air from the ocean around it. It's going to precipitate. And then at night, your land is going to cool down quicker than the surrounding ocean. And so that's when we have a land breeze, which is when it blows out. So this is, there are many islands. For example, I've been to Maui in Hawaii before, and like clockwork, in the mid-afternoon, it would always rain. And that is kind of where this comes from. That's like where this sort of system comes from. So if you're in a tropical region, I mean, Hawaii is, further north. Do we have Hawaii on here?
Yep.
Yeah, so we have Hawaii over here. The other thing with Hawaii too is that you do have like high pressure systems out in the middle of the ocean, and that does influence why there are some, more arid regions on Hawaii than other places. But if you have something, like New Guinea or Borneo or something, where New Guinea has really high mountains.
Yes.
Running through it, and the whole thing is still very humid, right? So this is the area that I think your situation here would best resemble, if we're looking for a geographic allegory.
But I think in terms of I guess there's sort of the distinction between obviously the climate zones don't necessarily always match the visual that you associate with them, right? Like I guess what's in my head is that part of it is that historically this island was further north, which meant that it was going to be drier.
Right.
And I think I'm okay with that changing. We can claim the artwork is on the continent instead of the original. I think that's fine because I think I like the placement of everything else with this projection. I think that this was one of the things where we were like, some things are going to have to change. And this is going to be like one of them, I think, because everything else lines up pretty well.
Yeah.
If we want to keep going through.
And something that's, so then when we're looking up here, you know, following this logic, I mean, later, we're going to do continentality and G plates after we kind of go over this. And then we'll export this to the iPad and I'll do a sketch of some of the pressure system stuff so we can lay down, you know, currents and some other things we need to actually like go through the temperature mapping step. But what I suspect too is that this is going to be probably your more arid region.
Lovely.
So we're going to have a cool current kind of coming down here. And, you know, we're going to have a high pressure system in here, and it's going to be running parallel, as you saw when I was drawing those lines, like on the eastern side of the anticyclone. No, on the east side of the cyclone. I got up recently, and I've not had much sleep because I have been sick. So I thank Auroral Anatomy there in the comments for the assist earlier. So with the with the anticyclone on the eastern side of it, the line the winds are going to be kind of moving parallel. They're going to be moving north south more so than they're moving from east to west. So this means that this area is probably going to be pretty arid. I mean, at some times of the year, it's going to be running parallel. Sometimes the high pressure system is actually going to be on top of this region. So this is where we're going to see a lot of aridity. However, during the summer, your thermal equator will probably rise over this southern part. And that would probably...
Sorry. I think it's probably useful for people to know we're not sure whether or not we need a continent, not that we're going to map it at all, but just knowing that there could be a continent south of this continent if we wanted to move that down. Like it's a possibility.
Okay. Wait. Like move a hypothetical continent down?
No, create one.
Or create one.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't think if you created I don't think you need to create one. I'm just saying in the summer, in this hemisphere, assuming, you know, this is north, you know, we can say this is in the northern hemisphere. You can make it the southern hemisphere. I mean, you know, we'll just flip it later if you wanted. This area, so you'd have your thermal equator would rise because, you know, this kind of falls, you know, in your tropics, right? And that would cause your ITCZ to come up. And the ITCZ does come up in the middle of the Sahara. And we do actually get, you know, hundreds of milliliters of precipitation up into the Sahel. You know, like, I think in my footnotes video, you have, you know, like Burkina Faso and stuff like that, which if you look on the ground, it's like, oh, you've got, shrubs, you've got some trees, you've got red clay, you've got some grasses and stuff poking up. But, it gets 800 millimeters of precipitation, which is more than London, England receives in a year, right? So down here, you would probably be getting a decent amount of precipitation, but it would occur only in the summer, and it would probably be hot enough here year round that it would, still be an arid climate in most cases. I mean, you may have some pockets of savanna. In these mountains, you'd probably have some areas of like a humid climate.
Okay.
And that would probably be like a pretty chill place to live, because it's warm all year round, and you have like reliable summer rains that are gonna, show up. And then, you can also think of places in the Arabian Peninsula and stuff like that, where like, people who live in the mountains, they get moisture and stuff like that they can rely on. They build terraces and complex water management systems. So that could be a really cool opportunity. This side here, I'd probably want to work on actually like sketching out the pressure system, because it could go two ways. During the summer, it's likely that this would get a decent amount of precipitation. But we could make artful choices and say that, you don't get much precipitation on parts of this. If you want a more arid, if you want it to be
I was
more arid,
hoping for like more humid stuff on that coast, so that
we can make that happen.
Okay.
That is my first instinct here, is to make this very arid. And so, no, sorry. Humid.
Yes.
Yes, my first instinct was to make this very humid, right? So you'd have a very humid area along here, and that would kind of blend into, like humid or semi-arid along this area in the south. This would be quite arid in here, because you do, in this case, you do have the mountains blocking, and you would have lee cyclogenesis, but there's nothing to really pull from. You don't have any large bodies of water evaporating moisture to actually bring precipitation over. You would probably get some precipitation from this lake. There would be like lake effect precipitation, but whether or not it would be significant enough to change it, right? Like, we've got the Caspian, for example, and while the Caspian does provide a decent amount of precipitation to the south to create rainforests in Macedon, it doesn't actually contribute much precipitation to the steppe that's like directly east of it, right? So that's something else we're going to think of. As we move further north here, what time is it? Yes, 10:30. All right. Oh, and we got comments actually. Bouba Australis, excellent. May or may not be New World monkeys somewhere in a vaguely southern direction. Yeah, the monkeys may need to move depending on the. You could have arid monkeys. That'd be neat. That'd be an opportunity.
There will be there'll be a range of arid primates, including some that are like going to be like kangaroo adjacent.
Okay.
Yes. The fast loris.
Yes, the fast loris. The fast loris is going to be tropical though.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's going to be what if lorises developed. I can't remember the name now. The arm thingy. Brachiation.
Brachiation. Yeah.
That would be the arm thingy.
It's unknown if there'll be lands to the south. Yes. A true land unknown. If you put it like down here, I don't think it's going to impact very much of what we do.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so as we move further north, you have these mountains here. And so something that could happen in the summer in particular is, and this is an iPad explanation. So let's see how quickly I can do this time. Seamless. So when Mr. Sun, let's do this.
So cute.
I know.
Bringing him back. All right. So when we have Mr. Sun and when we have some mountains, right? So here, so we have our mountains and we have our ground level. When Mr. Sun is heating these, heating the mountains, the ground of the mountains can heat up to be warmer than the air around them. Because the rocks, the ground, can heat up faster. Mm-hmm. That causes the air to rise. And what happens when air rises? Other air moves in to fill the space.
Mm-hmm.
So that can create low pressure areas.
Mm-hmm.
And this is one of the driving mechanisms of why the Asian monsoon is so powerful. Is because of the Himalayas.
Mm-hmm.
Again, one factor. There are multiple factors here. But yes, this rises up. The other thing, though, and how tall are those mountains?
They are new Himalayan-ish / like altiplano-esque.
Okay. Rocks. Mr. Sun, rocks. All right. So, if these are snow-capped,
yes,
for example, then something else is also going on where these are going to be cold. And what happens with cold air? It comes down. So at some point along these mountains, there's going to be a place where the warm and the cold meet. And that is going to limit, really, the lower extent of where any glaciation is going to occur. Because that is like where the precipitation gets to.
Mm-hmm.
But so in a perfect situation, you would have the glaciers sort of hit where the precipitation ends, right? So the glaciers are constantly getting replenished by the precipitation. But what can happen is that that level can be low, so that the glaciers don't get precipitation, and so the glaciers will not grow very much or eventually go away, just because of the lack of precipitation that's going to them. And these are some interesting questions for both paleoclimate as well as the changing world that we currently live in with our with global warming and things like that.
Mm-hmm.
Anthropocene. I don't know if you like the term Anthropocene or not.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean, we're making plastics and we're doing things that have that are causing a difference in the geology. So if that's how people are using it, then I'm not particularly opposed to it. Also, there was a really cool art show called like the Anthropocene that I saw about 8 years ago now, I think. I'll have to remember to look it up in the break. So yes, so you do have your mountains, and mountains are great because they can bring in they can also bring in air, and that can help with precipitation. One of the issues is that it also depends on like relative temperature difference and things as well. So the strength of the low pressure area that's being generated. So in over land masses that are more continental, more lands, some of that land is further away from heat transfer. It can build up more heat, and then you could have a more intense system. Your place is gonna be very like oceanic. You're probably gonna have some subcontinental areas. So the strength of the low pressure areas that develop in these mountains is going to be like significant, but it's not going to be like Asian monsoon level.
Sure.
Right. Like, yes, it's going to be bringing in precipitation. So if we go up this coast, this is going to be very pluvial.
We're on iPad mode, by the way.
Excellent. Very quickly to reorient, and then I'm going to go back to the iPad.
No,
Bye, Levinel.
You were referring to things, and I was like, that's not on the screen.
Okay, here we go. As we go further north, that will be pluvial.
Yay.
And then we're going to be talking about this region up here. And I think how many people have mapped their precipitation, they tend to end up with a problem where their east coasts tend to be just by default very monsoonal, right? Like they it tends to kind of replicate East Asia, but the spirit of the East Asian monsoonal climate and not the actuality of it. So if we just jump back to the iPad again, now that we've reoriented ourselves. So if we have here our anticyclone, we have our high pressure system, we're going, because if you just do this and then do that, then, you're not going to get any precipitation here, right? If you do your ideal method, you're not going to get any precipitation. That's going to be a bad time. If you properly, for the case of East Asia, for example, put a high pressure system over the over in Siberia, because you have the Siberian high, and Zelaya does not have a high here, but we're just doing it for
illustrative purposes.
I mean, there's a high up here, which has a similar effect. But like, if you just have your high and you have the air just like coming off and pushing away, right? Then this area is also going to be very it's going to be very arid in the winter. But if you switch back to it's going to be very arid in the winter, but if you have a monsoon in that region, if you like map in your low pressure for the summer, because you have this up here, so that would help draw in precipitation, then you're going to end up with a climate, by doing this basic mapping, that would be a W climate. And W climate means that you have a wet summer and a dry winter. And this is something that we do see in East Asia, for example. Like, however, if you look at the Köppen for, the China, right? There is CWA climate in there. However, the coast is CFA. And you can look, pretty deep and see that, like, there's a decent amount of precipitation occurs in the winter. And so the question is, like, well, what's going on there? Because if you're doing what I would suggest, then you have your you have your high pressure system, and if you draw that, then you have it's probably just for illustrative effect. You start up here and you go around, go this way. You have, I'm kind of exaggerating, but you do have winds coming up doing the same motion, right? Because on this side, they're coming down like that.
Yep.
Where were we? Boom. Right? So on this side, it's important to get this motion in because it's coming down, and anything along here is going to be quite dry. And on this side, we have the opposite motion of it coming up. So we do get this moving air in. So that is one thing. So we get moist tropical air moving along the coast. And that is that is one thing that contributes to having a CF A climate. We also, I am remembering. I'm learning. All right. This is another example here where in North America, if you look at the Köppen, this area is all F. It's F means humid all year. And you're like, well, where's the precipitation coming from? It's coming, a lot of it, from the Caribbean.
Yeah.
So, and if you look at the actual the dividing line between the humid climates and the arid climates, the semi-arid climates and stuff like that, where you start getting into not even climates, like the biomes and stuff, like when you shift from forest to prairie, that tends to happen along here. And that's because the wind is carrying the air this way.
Okay, I see what you're saying now. Yeah,
this does change in parts of the summer because there is a monsoon that happens in southwest part of North America, and there are thunderstorms and all that jazz. And that also brings in precipitation from the Caribbean as well as from the Pacific. So, but if the Caribbean did not, you can't see me pointing at my screen. If the Caribbean didn't exist and there was just land there, then a lot of this would probably be, more arid, whether it would transition to CWA or what have you. So that is one thing. So if you have precipitation that you can push up, then that is going to be useful. Here, you've actually angled yourself away. So we are going to see this area receive a bunch of precipitation from that air moving up. Kind of along the coast. It's going to be helped by the mountains and helping to generate that, particularly in the summer. We'll have to see about the winter and how that's going to look. In here, there is something else that we need to consider, and it will be based on it'll be based on where your sea ice and stuff like that are.
Yes.
So, because what'll happen is, especially in the winter, and this is what will differentiate, the W from the F climate, something that's humid primarily in the summer from one that's humid all year round, is that there are low pressure systems that show up in the winter. And what is happening here is, all right, so what is happening here is that, do I have my temperature layer? I have a temperature layer somewhere. Hey, all right.
Ooh.
This winter? Yeah, that's winter. Great, cool. So in the winter, and on Dove, the winter causes the 0 degree isotherm to come quite far south. The 0 degree isotherm is between the kind of like off-white color and this light blue color.
Okay.
So that's going to be here. Where this happens, there is a pretty large difference between the surface temperature of the sea ice. So along here, we have sea ice.
Mm-hmm.
Primarily it's going to happen at like the -2 degrees Celsius, but this is for
that makes sense,
right?
Yeah, that makes sense.
But above the sea ice, due to the sublimation and how cool that is, it is going to be colder than the warmth of the ocean that's right beside it. The ocean is going to be relatively warmer. And what happens then is that the air rises over the ocean because this air is very cold and it is coming off, and in this case, it's coming off of this giant ice sheet. And it wants to, so it is very cold. This area is very warm. It is going to start causing heat to rise, and the cold air is going to be, and that hot rising air needs air to fill it in. So it starts pulling air in off of the ice. And so this is where we get these winter storm systems. I mean, if you're in the States, then, all these storm systems off Alaska and things like that. And for, those of us in Canada, we get the same sort of winter storm systems that they get in Alaska. But we also get a lot of winter storm systems on the East Coast as well. Around like Newfoundland and Labrador, between there and like Greenland. And then those move because you'll notice the movement of the winds here. They move down the coast. And this is where a lot of the winter storms in the East Coast come from.
Oh, those nor'easters.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that happens in East Asia as well. It happens to China. Okay. And that brings precipitation in the form of snow for a lot of places. For other places, it brings rain in the winter.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people who are doing climate don't factor this in. So what they tend to have is like, CW climates or DW climates along their coasts where you would actually expect to see F climates.
Sure.
It's a similar thing on, so that is something that we would expect to see.
Makes a lot of sense.
So if we move back to, and the thing is, it doesn't have to be that much precipitation, because for the C and the D climates, so your mesothermal, where no month drops below 0, but at least one month goes below 18 degrees Celsius. I'm working in Celsius.
Please do.
And
Thank you.
D climates, microthermal climates, where, at least 1 month falls below 0.
Yes.
And, at least 1 month is above 10 degrees Celsius. In order for a climate to be a W climate, the summer month with the largest total average precipitation over the period you're looking at needs to be 10 times higher than the winter precipitation. So if you have a month that receives 300 millimeters of precipitation in the summer and a month in the winter that receives 29 millimeters, that would be a W. But if it receives 31, then it's an F.
Okay.
Right? So it doesn't need to be all that much precipitation in order for it to be classified as an F climate instead of a W climate. In that case, the way that it works for tropical megathermal A climates is different. That is not the same. The distinction between a W and an F climate is about 1 month has to receive less than 60 millimeters of precipitation, and then there's an equation that you use to determine whether it is a AM, which is usually referred to as like a tropical monsoon climate, or an AW or AS, which would be the tropical savanna. Yeah. So that is something else that we're going to be taking into consideration. And now I'm going to remember to remove and add. So here, depending on where your sea ice is, would help us determine how much precipitation this area gets.
Got it.
However, you may end up with areas in here that are W areas. And that would more so be because, they just don't get that much precipitation in there. And I think rather than looking at over here, a better example to look at would be, the southeastern part of South America, actually, right? Like, I think that would be a good parallel to kind of look at, because in that case, the Andes does block moisture, and based on how the air circulation works in the South Pacific, it can lead to some of those interesting dynamics.
That's an interesting. I never knew that about the Celsius scale. That it was 100 was freezing. That seems very interesting.
But you could essentially have cold desert in there. Like, you could have cold, semi-arid climate in there.
That's generally what we were expecting in there.
Yeah,
in the grand scheme of things.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you could essentially have like a CW or CF at the coast. Or a CF at the coast transitions to CW, and then in the interior here, you have a cold, arid or semi-arid climate. Now we can move on to this area. And if we are going up along here, at some point in this area, you are going to have your Mediterranean climates, your CS climates. And that is because you're going to have a high pressure system that is in the summer, it is going to move north and cover part of this region. So if you have a high pressure system covering you, you're not getting precipitation because the air is coming down and there's not that much moisture up there. And then in the winter, this high pressure system migrates south and moves over the ocean a bit more. And I mean, the high pressure technically just kind of like bands across here a bit. But in that case, then you have the winds coming up in that Nike swish and hitting that area. So that is why that happens, and how we can kind of determine that. As we get further north, the high pressure system is going to be like, moving up and down, but we are going to consistently get westerly winds from the top of that high pressure system. So they're going to constantly be moving this way and kind of colliding with the side here. These mountains will provide a bit of a, whatchamacallit,
rain shadow.
Brain fart. Rain shadow, thank you. They are going to provide a bit of a rain shadow, even though they're not particularly tall.
Sure.
It doesn't take all that much.
Sure.
And we are also going to get, those winter storms that kind of come down the side here. So this part is actually going to be very pluvial, right? So this is more or less going to be very similar to like, Pacific Northwest kind of vibes. And I think that's something that you were interested in. You're going to have a very similar situation over here.
Thank goodness.
Yep.
This basin here is... where's my little measuring stick? Boop. 500 kilometers across. So that's a pretty large fetch. We're making fetch happen.
Yay!
And so you're going to be getting, and I mean, you know, how often is the air going to be moving directly that way? I mean, it's probably going to be moving from like here to there, and that's 700 kilometers. So that is also quite nice. This one down here is a bit different, but it would make a difference for the Lee cyclogenesis down there. We in the summer, you'd probably get precipitation moving north into here. But I mean, in the winter, it's not going to be that significant. You're probably going to have those winter storms, as I mentioned. You can also have a situation where you have cold air coming down above it.
Yeah.
And hitting warm air moving north, and that would generate precipitation. We have something very similar that occurs. Whoop. This is what happens when you use G-plate long enough. Like, there is a very quick way to reorient things, but
you gotta do the cycle.
I've been using this program for I don't know. You just get set in your ways, I guess. So you have air moving north over the Rockies and then coming down into Alberta. And that is where some precipitation comes from, funnily enough. So we can, there we go. So we can have a bit of that. But that would be something that's, you know, primarily happening in the summer as well. And it would really depend, because if you have sea ice around here, you don't really have evaporation. So when we talk about what we want your average temperature to be for the planet, and then how we want to do that for the hemispheres, that's going to be you know, our question, right? So what I'd like to do now, and I don't think it's going to take very long, is that we can do the continentality, and then we can have our break, because I don't think the continentality is going to take very long. For the continentality, I am essentially just using the method. I'm just following the method from the guide, the manual temperature guide that I did for Edgar. Yes, there's a Google Drive thing. Let me find it. Manual temperature method mapping. Is this it? Is this the doc? I think that's the doc. Please let me know if you access that. I believe that's the doc. So.
Yep.
Great.
Yep.
At the top of that, you can see a map that talks about continentality. Well, it demonstrates the differences in ranges of average temperature from the highest to the lowest, which is usually from, you know, what we use, which is like July and January.
Correct.
Sometimes it's not that. Very rarely it is, you know, a different month for one of those directions, but for our purposes, it's fine. I did simplify it into fewer steps. So a lot of these blue areas are kind of like condensed together. The green areas are conflated as well. You know, it's just, I'm not going to make people map all these differences. And, you know, we're trying to make it somewhat manageable when people are moving through this. And what we're doing is we're taking the measured differences from Earth, and then we are we are heuristically applying those differences to the maps that we make in order to provide us with some like guardrails.
Sure.
For when we actually map the temperature and we do the isotherms later. But what this also does is this helps for me, before I sketch the pressure systems, this helps determine like where these areas of low pressure could occur over the landmass, because we tend to see them occur, particularly in the summer and the winter, based on relative temperature difference. So this tells us relative temperature differences, right? So that is going to be useful for us to do.
Just a clarifying question on my end. So, like, the more continental a region would be, it's more likely for it to have like a low pressure hot spot, or am I off a little bit?
So in higher latitudes, a higher continentality means that it is more likely to have a high pressure area in the winter. That's one thing that we're looking for. In the lower latitudes, higher continentality can help us gauge where the thermal equator is going to move, because
I'm in that little part, I think.
Because like there's a higher continentality in Saharan Africa, right? And so that higher continentality, mapping that helps us sort of understand the movement of the thermal equator and the ITCZ. You can see, comparatively in the southern hemisphere, that southern Africa has a relatively lower continentality. It's more oceanic instead of subcontinental. And same thing with with South America as well as Australia, I believe. So I don't think Australia has any subcontinental regions. So this also helps sort of this is one way of explaining the movement of your thermal equator, and then therefore your ITCZ. So the ITCZ also moves for other reasons, like mountains and things, that the thermal equator is not they're not the same thing. The thermal equator is kind of measuring like the hottest sort of average point, kind of like at sea level, more or less. Mountains can other aspects can cause that to shift, the ITCZ to shift, though it normally follows the thermal equator.
Cool beans.
Right. So continentality, when we're doing this, we're looking for like a contiguous landmass. Like a continent there isn't an agreed on definition for what a continent is. It is very much vibes based. Scholars will refer to continents like I would say that a continent is much more of a vernacular concept. It is like a lay concept, because you have like, and you can talk about continents in a variety of ways. Like, you can say that, continents are land masses that are separated by water. And it's like, well, then why is, Eurasia and Africa separate continents?
Yeah.
Right? Like that doesn't make sense. And also, why is North and South America separate continents? Like, yeah, we dug canals, but like, that's not, that's not particularly significant. And then if you say, okay, fine, well, yes, then you have the Americas as a continent and then Afro-Eurasia as a continent. And it's like, well, like technically Beringia is underwater now, but that's a relatively recent phenomena. There's still land under the water connecting these two things. So then we have like Afro-Eurasia America, right? Like, if you try to nail down what a continent is, you're going to constantly run into issues where like people's imagination of what a continent is, which is usually what's much more important, is going to be distinct from whatever kind of definition. So usually,
like this man,
right? Like when I'm teaching physical geography, there's a chapter in the book that I like to use that's like the myth of continents or whatever, where just kind of like goes through all of these different understandings of like the number of continents and how they are incoherent. But eventually you'll end up with just like, I don't know, 3 or 4 continents where you have like Australia, the, United, what did you have? Afro-Eurasia America, Antarctica, Australia, and I have to remember whether or not how New Zealand fits into that. But I think it is separated from Australia. Zealandia, yeah. So you can end up with 4 continents, but they're not the 4 continents that people are usually thinking about. And then, of course, it's very political, right? Like
Sure.
the way that, a lot of people in like Latin America imagine the Americas is quite different than English speakers.
Very much so.
Due to, political histories, their own histories of colonialism and these sorts of things where, it's very common in Spanish and Portuguese and stuff like that. I guess French too, in South America, when to be like, oh, like we're all Americans. Meanwhile, for Anglos in North America, we use the demonym American to refer to the States.
Yeah.
And if you call a Canadian an American, it's like, no. Like we're North American, but we are not American. And this has led to very like petty cross conversations online where people are trying to, kind of impose their very like specific place-based understanding of and language-based understandings of what an American is. And it's like, well, these words mean different things in different contexts because they are salient in different ways. And I know that in, Romance languages, you can refer to the United States of America with a different kind of demonym. You can call them like United Statesers. But that is not something that is linguistically, it's just not something that English speakers would do, right? Like we don't refer to people who live in China as People's Republicans. We call them Chinese. I mean, I think it'd be funny.
Not yet, we don't.
Not yet, we don't.
God.
And in that case, like, well, I believe, and in Mexico is also a United States.
It is. Yeah.
So then we would have a problem where we'd have 2 United Statesers living right next to each other. And then I think we'd just default to Americans and Mexicans again because, it's also
United States you're talking about.
Yeah, which United States? What is it from that movie Civil War? It's like, what kind of American are you? What kind of United Stateser are you? All right, so we are sitting here. We're getting back on track. And so, yes, landmass, we're dealing with like, a contiguous landmass that's connected. Continentality means one thing. Otherwise, we're going to be talking about land masses. We're going to have a hyperoceanic zone. So let's do, where are my layers? Where are my layers at?
All my layers up in here.
Oh, I minimized it. That's why. And then it disappeared. Show layers, please.
Oh gosh, where are my people at?
Add new layer. Okay, so
wanna show you what I can.
So I'm going to take my points here. I have my measuring tool. First thing we want is to have our hyperoceanic zone. And our tropics are going to be between our 10 degrees north and south, right? So I can very easily get out my geometry tool here. And I am going to very roughly, the tool to move things and the tool to do fields is not the same tool. So it'll tell you, as you can see on the screen here, where is it? Down here, it'll tell you what your latitude and longitude are. So we want all of this. I know there's, water there, but you know what?
Negligible water.
Negligible water.
Available at all good supermarkets.
Yeah. There we go. There we go. And what I think that you can do after, we go through this whole process. Yeah, that's 10. We're not going to be super great.
Yeah.
Great feature.
I'm trying to think of what.
I wonder if it has something in here that would be useful. Otherwise, it's not a political boundary. It doesn't have like an environmental thing. It doesn't have. We'll just call it the topography. No, we will not. It does not include elevation data. Fine, it's an unclassified feature.
Woohoo.
Next, plate ID will be 0. It doesn't matter. Because none of these will be moving. Yeah.
No.
Yes, create a new feature collection. Oh, right. Yeah, I remember. All right. Great. Okay. So now we have our hyperoceanic zone.
Mm-hmm.
Warm currents and currents close to enclosed seas in the tropics can extend the hyperoceanic zone along coasts and over islands and isthmuses up to the tropics. The hyperoceanic zone will usually extend inland 100 kilometers from the coast, but can extend to 200 kilometers inland. If we look at the manual temperature mapping thing, you can get what I would refer to as like, more like hyperoceanic climates pretty far north. There are parts of like Ireland, for example, would be kind of on the boundary of oceanic and hyperoceanic for this system. Haida Gwaii off the coast of British Columbia in the Pacific Northwest. So like you can play with it based on the output that you're feeling. So something else we can look at here, especially so warm currents can push it up. Our warm currents are going to be coming from this direction. So some of this will probably be hyperoceanic. Maybe some of the stuff along here. We could expect a lot of these islands to kind of be hyperoceanic.
Good.
But we can figure that out later. That's not our priority here. So the oceanic zones have mild variations. We are not going to do that. I'm going to draw them in later because most of the map is going to be oceanic. The next thing is subcontinental. So between the tropics and 70 degrees latitude, we're going to look for landmasses that have an area of at least 4,500 kilometers squared above 35 degrees north and south. So where are we here? So it's all right. So there we go. Great. So now I'm going to make a new, where are we? 35. That's good enough. All right. So now we are going to.
I couldn't imagine this not being like 4,500 kilometers squared.
Boop, 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 boop. I mean, you may still not. I mean, you may have some, but yeah, you may not have any. And that would be fun. Oh, that went too far south. There we go. Create feature. Yeah, it'll be another unclassified feature. This is our subcontinental measurements. 8. Okay, there we go. Our subcontinental measurement. And then the other thing that we can do that for all that it matters. So I can actually go in and I can fill my polygons with a draw style. Blue. Hey, look at that.
Oh,
Fantastic.
buddy.
All right, so I mean, I'm just going to do the lines later so that we can see what we're doing. So up in here now, you're like, great, you just drew this line. Fantastic. What is that supposed to tell us? We can use the choose feature tool to choose this feature, and then we can click on the measure tool, and it will tell us the area, which is 12 million square kilometers. So you got blown out of the water there. Let's see if it's big enough for continental, actually. That will be interesting. It is. Hey! You could have some continental up in the northeastern area, which would be neat.
Yes.
Because that would help you create your cold desert.
Yes.
Fun, fun, fun.
Oh, I love cold deserts so much.
Everyone start throat singing in the chat. So we are now going to I believe it's the same. Yeah, cool. So yeah, always measure because it'll save you headaches later on, and I knew it was going to be larger, but I didn't want to take away the surprise from Miles.
Oh, thank you.
Let's do because this is actually like much larger than than like the same amount of land in South America that's actually below that, or Africa in the southern hemisphere that's below that. It's like it's a little because you do have that spot that's kind of off to the side. It's like that kind of throws things a little bit. And, you may think because you have like a Westeros-sized continent that it would resemble South America a bit more. But South America tapers to a point in the northern hemisphere, and you have it sort of kind of broadening out, not just in longitude, but also in the amount of land area, because your continent is like roughly the same, like it's box-shaped, which is fine. That's cool.
Yes.
But in the southern hemisphere... in around the tropics in the lower latitudes, it's a lot thinner in that sort of arc out. And I think
it's got a skinny way.
Yeah, it got skinny,
yes.
But and I do and I think it's
shoulder day is not skipped.
I think it is interesting. So we are going to be working.
Look at all those pixels.
Oh my god.
How beautiful.
So the subcontinental zone should extend at least 2,000 kilometers from the east to west. If you are doing a world that is retrograde, flip your east and west. So you will always be measuring from the east and west. So continentally is about the distance of land from large bodies of water. More or less. So physical feature from the ocean that bends inward, like the Great Australian Bight into South Australia, then may stop the continent is tall, like South America, but not wide, then a subcontinental zone may not form. So you may have some areas that are not going to have a subcontinental zone form. You could also have a situation where your lower area gets a little bit of subcontinental in that basin, which could be interesting. between the tropics and 90 degrees north to south. Mark the subcontinental zone starting from the tropic and 300-400 kilometers from the west coast across the landmass to the east coast following the coastline. So let's do that. So where is our tropic? Boom. Cool.
Yeah, that's tropic. Okay.
Okay, so our tropic is, what's our tropic? Is it like 23? Is it just Earth?
Yeah, 23.5.
Okay, so we're going to go here and we're going to measure in. So that's 500 kilometers. How far do we want it to be? About 400 kilometers. But we want it to stay 100 to 250 kilometers from the northern and southern coasts. So here to there. How far is that? That's fine. And then here, that's too far. There we go. Okay,
Nice.
so we are going to start it, and it is going to kind of go in here. And we're going to kind of peel it off to here. Oh. Remember, when you're working on the globe, it is round. If you try to make a straight line, it will not work. That's why we have multiple points. We want to make a straight line. Yes, it's going to be very Bouba. If you don't, it will be very Kiki. And then it's going to go in and up. Great feature.
Nice.
All right. All right, so now we got our subcontinental set up, and we can do that thing. I also wanted to change the fill opacity. There we go. All right, so now we've got our subcontinental as well. We're going to fill the polygon. Didn't I fill it? Oh, come on. All right. So I made it in lines. I did not make it in the different things. So one sec here. Okay, so yay, there we go. Great. All right, so now though, we've got two features here, but I made one a minute ago and I made one 17 seconds ago. So I'm going to just kill the one that I made earlier. Great.
Oh,
beautiful.
Cool.
And we're going to save all changes. Close. Make sure you're saving your G plates. All right, so we have this one here, which is cute. Now we just need to make sure. So then the next thing that we need to apply, and this will change our zone.
Okay.
Large bodies of water, especially warm water, on more than one side of a landmass will push the subcontinental zone into the interior, where there is at least 2,000 kilometers of land oriented north-south that is not interrupted by ocean circulation or warm seas. So we have this body here of water above it. So there's a couple things here. One, like, would it be warm? I mean, it'd probably be cooler. But I would suggest that we kind of like eat into it a little bit, because let's do our measurement here. Let's just see. From here to there,
okay,
1,500 kilometers. So that is a little too small. When does it start to get to 2,000? All right, so I think it's around here that starts to get to 2,000. Nope. There. So around there, it starts to get to 2,000. So we're going to
Yeah.
cut some points out.
Okay.
Mhm.
And we can do that in G plates. Isn't this fun? All right. So where is my...
I was so reluctant to grab G plates, but I'm very glad that it seems to be
Boop,
rather featureful.
boop, boop, boop.
I found it really scary when I tried it.
Yeah, it does seem very intimidating at first.
There we go. And I got 2 points over there. I don't need that point. All right. So you have to say boop while you're adding or removing points.
Oh,
It's
of
very
course.
Okay.
important. So now we have carved it in.
Okay.
You can shift the subcontinental zone poleward for intervening bays, gulfs, or seas that have warm tropical water in the south. So the Caribbean shifts the North American zone north. Bay of Bengal shifts it in Asia. If the poleward extent of the continent falls below 30 degrees north at any point, moving eastward, then the subcontinental zone will round out as well. So that's not a problem that we have. We're just sort of ending it along the coast here. I mean, it's probably not going to go that far because, you know, you have the coast here. But anyway,
Mhm.
yeah, because all of this is above 30 degrees. So that's okay.
Yeah.
But it's just not large enough to kind of create that. So it starts here. Okay.
That seems interesting.
It looks like a question mark.
Your
Well, you've
continent?
got the
Oh,
curved
yeah,
bit
yeah,
at the top.
Oh, yes, indeed. I see it.
There we go. So the next thing that we're probably going to do is work on extending this north.
Okay.
So because we want to be, I mean, I can just make another shape. I mean, it is really, doesn't matter because we're going to bring it into Procreate at some point. So that's 200 kilometers. What do we want? 400 kilometers from the coastline. Okay, so if it's here and goes to there. Okay, so this plot here is where it's going to be. What is going on? All right. Okay, where is this being added?
Oh my goodness.
Okay, cool. All right, so there, there, there,
Boop.
there.
Boop, boop, boop.
No, I don't like that. Boop. Wonderful. All right, so then we're going to follow that along, and it is going to keep going up here. And then you will have to switch to your movement tool, and then switch back to your other tool. It won't get rid of it. It'll just... And then this, you know, some of this may be overwritten by Continental, which is fine. So we are talking about warm seas.
Mhm.
Above this is cold.
Yes.
So it's subcontinental. It's fine. This little thing off to the side here, we can deal with in the fallout. I mean, it'll also be subcontinental. It'll be looped into whatever's happening on here. It's kind of inconsequential for the moment, though. Stuff above the continent will also be immediately above the continent will probably also have the continentality of this. So this area here, that area will probably also be subcontinental or continental, depending on how things pan out. Right. So this eats in. So we may have a little subcontinental thing over here,
Ooh.
which could be fun. So what I'm going to do is take some steps back. I'm going to take out my measure tool, and I'm going to measure from here to
How skinny is she?
1,300. Hey! So we are going to have another little wall here.
Oh, love it.
When does that come into effect is the question, though. Oh, that's interesting. Okay, so we've got here, what longitude am I on? 2.35. Okay. There we go. All right. So that is kind of where the subcontinental zone is going to more or less stop in on this side, which I think is very interesting. Okay, so and then we also want it to keep a bit of distance from here, this 400 kilometers as well. So let's go back to here. Where are we at? Boop. All right, so boop, 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 boop. Great. Unclassified feature, subcontinental, east, next, and it'll just make it yellow for us. Great. And then we want to deal with this area. We want to see if there's any part of this area that's 400 kilometers away from the coast and also in an area that is over 2,000 kilometers. I do think we're going to get a little subcontinental in here, which will be nice. Because then this will also help us create a warmer zone. Hey, goody rictus. Wonderful. And yes, Madeline loves the fetch.
Yes. Fetch did happen.
Fetch is happening.
Yes.
There's so much fetch going on right now.
Gretchen will be remembered. Okay, so we've got 400 kilometers or so. All right, so we'd start after these mountains, which is good. This comes in, so we're not going to get anything in here. Do we have anything? So what is this? This is negative 14.5 degrees longitude. Okay, so we do have 2,000 in there, though it would probably stop here. Where's here? Negative 11. All right. So we can start actually like making our shape. And then we can measure it afterwards. And it's going to want to stay away from this bay here. All right, and now we can just go in and measure and see how we did. So I'll probably keep it further away. It'll probably just be sort of more localized in there. That's fine. That's fine. It's a little too far. So we can, and as we get higher up, it'll move more towards the coast. So we just go through the steps so we can change it as we go. That's why we're using this tool, because it's very easy to change.
It's the refining aspect.
Yeah, I mean, it's never going to be great the first time you do it. That's not the shape I'm currently working with. Thank you. All right, so boop. We can get rid of some of those. Do not be close to that. And then this is kind of where it's going to be. Great. So now we are in here. So we've got our general subcontinental shapes mapped in, which is fantastic. What are we doing as well? Above 70 degrees latitude, the subcontinental zone can spread across larger islands to the east of the continent. Yeah, so we're going to do that. If the pole were to extend to the continent, cool. So this means that we also get to incorporate. This will be incorporated within as well. I am measuring, not doing that. Okay, cool. So this is also going to be, so I believe that's above 70 degrees. No, it's not. Where is it? Oh, cool. Yeah, so we are not going to include it. These will be included. These ones up here probably will be looped in, but the other ones will not.
She's free, like Kesha.
Yay.
There we go.
Oh.
No, like, how do we name the island Kesha?
Oh, we can name Alan Kesha.
It's
Okay,
very
so
easy to name the island.
what?
Oh, just like Rebecca Black's new single, we're making our continent hot, wet, and delirious.
I still know all of Friday.
You should still know all of Friday. I remember in college, me and a good friend did like a ukulele parody cover of it, and it was so much fun.
All right, so we are now done that section, I believe. Great. So now we're doing continental. And I'm going to be making the new layer or the new feature collection and all that stuff. But outside the tropics, look for a continent that's, we're there. From 40 degrees north-south, begin the continental zone 1,700 to 2,000 kilometers from the western side of a subcontinental zone. So this is where we get a little testy because this is not wide enough.
Yeah.
No continental zone down there. This is too far south. If we hit here, and we will go across, it's too small.
She's too skinny.
Too skinny.
Skinny
So
legend.
where are we here? This is 49.5. So that's a little, that is wide enough, but it would be like this little sliver along here. Okay, and let's keep going. Because yeah, it breaks it here, like this. That
like natural dividing wall. Okay.
Yeah, because it just sort of brackets it apart. What I will say though is that we can make, I mean, this area over here will probably have a decent amount of, I mean, it'll be cool. It'll be colder here than other places. So you can push it to the further end of the subcontinental zone, but I don't think you'll have a, yeah, you won't have a proper, it's not really like, it's not substantial enough, I would say. Like if you did, you'd have like these little like continental layers pushed right up against the coast. So I think you're kind of at the limit. Like, yeah, I don't think it's really necessary to include it.
Interesting.
But I'm going to keep reading through just in case. Large lakes, inland seas, and other nearby bodies of water near the boundary of the subcontinental continental zones will shift the continental zone, which is what this is also doing here. Right? Like that is what is causing this to happen. The extent of the continental zone towards the equator, if it stays at least 1,000 kilometers from equatorward oceans and seas. So, yeah, that's fine. If the landmass widens towards the pole, then the distance between the western boundary of the continental and subcontinental zones slowly closes. The distance between them is 650 to 700 at 50 degrees. Above 70, here we go. Above 70 degrees north-south, the minimum distance from the western boundary of the subcontinental zone is further reduced. So what we could do, where's 50 degrees? Okay, 50 degrees is now 650 to 700. And that is more doable. There we go. Okay. And where did we see before that it was like one. Oh, here we go. Okay, so if we want 1 point there, I'll clean it up later. Where's 70? Do we have 70? No, we have 60.
No. 70 may just be right above it, like where the landmass might be.
And it is going to be... Oh, shit. Yeah. I don't know why that one is over there. That's not very useful for me. I could have just moved the point, to be fair, but...
You did what you had to do.
Yeah. We did what we had to do. So we could... I mean, I would... What do I want to do up there? Yeah, the continental can stick out there. That's fine. Hypercontinental wouldn't. Yeah, you don't have enough space for a hypercontinental spot, so we don't really need to worry about that. But yeah, so you don't have one that goes too far south. You have one that is going to be starting. Oh, we want to start around. Yeah, we have one starting down there, and it's going to generally pull out to there. Uh-oh.
Oh, okay.
I didn't actually make the geometry, which is... Okay, there we go. Next.
It reminds me of the shape of Peru.
There we go.
I can see that a little bit. Yeah.
Okay. Save
like Guinea or
as.
something, like Guinea-Bissau. But I don't know which one looks like what.
Save all changes. Close. Did I make it as a... How did I make this feature? All right. Fill polygon. Wonderful. Great. And now we're going to go to our draw style. And we are going to pick... Orange. There we go. I'll make it a little darker. That's fine. We are not going to keep creating polygons. Okay, so now we need to alter the... Where's my... All right, now we are going to measure and alter this stuff based on this. Okay, so here we have there to here. How far is that? 200. If it's falling off, how far is it in? It's a very quick transition, but this is a very sloped change, so I don't necessarily mind. That's 400, but that's going from latitude. That's going from 12 to 3. Yeah, that's not what we want. So 12 here to 57 to 7. What's that? 500, and yeah, that's fine. That's fine. That quick change is okay. That just tends to kind of be what we see. We see kind of a sharper angle, and then this is just kind of rounding out. I don't know. That looks fine. All right, so that is going to be our continentality. All the stuff that is not orange, yellow, or blue is going to be green.
Okay.
So then the next thing that we do from here is boom.
Boom.
And I do not need one of these layers anymore. I don't need one of these feature groups.
The Southern Archipelago looks so petite in this.
It looks like some sort of like tadpole like thing.
I thought it looked like if a snake went through something else, like
This is
a
interesting.
burger or something.
A burger.
Yeah. I didn't expect there to be a continental zone, but that's nice that you have one, because I think that makes your desert in here real. Yeah, it's gonna happen.
Yes. I really like how there's like the two distinct like subcontinental zones. I think that's going to be so sick for like how things work out.
Yeah, I think that's pretty cool. So we got these two continental zones. You have these two different subcontinental zones, and I mean, like when we go in and we're actually like working on it, we can spread hyperoceanic like along these coasts here. I think some of these areas are probably going to be oceanic just because of the. I mean, it makes sense because of the aridity and the shift of the tropics. That is going to lend it more towards being oceanic. Closer to the subcontinental zone. I mean, in this area, we may be pushing the boundary where it needs to be on the subcontinental zone, especially if it's arid in there, because it can become quite hot in the summer and then quite cold in the winter, because it's going to be arid in there. This is going to, of course, have colder winters.
Yeah.
And the summers are going to be quite hot. And that is going to this area is going to lend itself towards having the microthermal or the D climates. All right, so I'm going to file export. Where's the export feature here? The export feature here isn't that great. I may just take a screenshot for if Nikolai was around. Yeah, they hit it reconstruction. All right, so add export. I just want the view.
I just got a vision of like me hearing writing Mongolians. I don't think it would work.
All right, so we are not. Okay, so let's do this instead. I don't want an SGV file. Or maybe I can. I don't know. This is the whole thing, right? Yeah. And then the background is black, so that's convenient. Yeah, reconstructions. Export. Add export. Color raster. No. Oh, there we go. No, let's do that. I do not want it going to my documents. I would. Okay, good. You can't see all my files.
No, don't worry.
We would have let you know.
Oh, yeah.
No.
Okay, I'm going to put this in the Bouba thing. Begin export. Oh, wait. Abort export.
Wait.
Okay. It was exporting. I didn't set up the export properly. I forgot how it worked, and it was starting to export every single frame.
Oh my god.
Over several million years. Oh no. All right, so let's get rid of all those. Why didn't it export? I had export rasters and God. Why isn't it doing my geometries? Unless it did, and I just can't see it in the file. All right. Once I confirm that this works, then we will go on our break here. No, it didn't. It didn't export what I wanted. Okay.
Mhm.
All right. Remove, add export, image, screenshot, PNG, window dimensions, begin export. Oh, what? What is going on? Great. I forgot to make it so that they started at the beginning. Okay, there we go. Perfect. I got the file I wanted. Now, let's go over to the iPad. So, took a little longer than we expected. Well, we can go on a break. We'll come back and we can do a little bit of sketching for, half an hour, 45 minutes.
Cool.
And then we can call it for the day if that sounds good.
That sounds perfect.
Excellent. So please take your 5-minute break to venerate the great green dragon, whose body is the ground on which we stand, and whose glorious tail is the sun above us. Giver of life. If you're not experiencing a sunny day, then maybe you can do something to change that. If your day is too sunny, maybe you can ask the green dragon to shade the land with its wings. This is really a place-based ritual practice.
Oh, the flower of the sun.
So I'm going to be back in about 5 minutes, and I'll bring Jake and Miles back with me.
Cool.
We are back. All right, so now I have to shift slightly. I'm just going to do this very quickly while I get the file over onto the iPad.
We've never been this back before.
No.
Oh, strange. All right. Well, maybe I need to set the airdrop on this thing. All of this. Oh, it's not connected to Wi-Fi. Well, that's strange. There we go. All right, now I got the file. You certainly did make it in time to attach the stream.
Mm-hmm.
Attach the stream? Yeah, okay. Boop. Okay, where did this file appear? All right, so now I'm going to drop it into there. Or not, I guess. I don't know what this is doing. All right, so I'm just gonna, yeah, now I can set that on. So now we can do that. Yay, wonderful. Soup Crime's also here.
Hi, Soup Crime.
What crime is your soup flavored with this? I don't know what the regular rotation of soup crimes is. I had a nice chodnik when I was in Poland.
Oh.
If I'm remembering the name right. The cold borscht thing.
That does sound good, though. I love borscht usually in any capacity.
So I don't know why it chose to export it like this. Because I made a file that included the Southern Hemisphere, and it just decided not to export that. No, it did. This is the whole thing.
Yeah.
Never mind. I don't know what I'm talking about. Okay. All right, so let me just make sure the canvas is fine. Ah, the DPI is quite low. Okay, so let's change that. Let us change our DPI settings. And preferences? No, it's under canvas. Crop and resize. 1,000 layers. Wow. Not 1 DPI. Come on. Done. Sure. Cropping canvas. Great. All right. If it wasn't pixely before, I mean, we can eventually just get rid of the stuff we don't need, but once we go through like the isotherms and stuff like that, then we'll bring it into, I don't know, G projector, and then we'll export it into the projection that Nikolai made for you. So then we can just kind of like do it over that, because you have that Illustrator file. Is that in that projection, or is that a different projection?
Very good question.
That's a very good question. Okay.
We didn't make the Illustrator file, right?
Correct.
Wait, how old's the Illustrator file?
A year or so, is it now?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say.
Okay. I'll check. I think Nikolai told me what the projection was, and I can check later. So now what we can do on our new layer is start to do like a very brief sketch of how some of the climate stuff is going to look. And from what I laid out with the different regions and how those are going to turn out, that all sounds fine. Yes, sounds fine.
Oh, yes, sorry.
Yep.
Okay, cool. So let's do this. Let's do orange for, I don't know what we're doing for orange, but now it is going to be our thermal equator. So it's probably going to rise up. And that's pretty thick. Don't need that. Gonna rise up. That's probably like what? Because this is just for our reference here. This is 0. This is 30.
Mm-hmm.
This is 60. Which, yeah. So then it only exported. Okay, whatever. That's a choice that the machine made. I don't know. I'll have to go back and see if it did it properly, but I think this is what it did. So now we have 60, 30, 0, 60. Because I want to import this again, and if it's not the whole thing for some reason, then I'll have to fiddle around with it. I mean, there's an easy way to do this. Yeah, so the canvas needs to be larger. I thought that the dimensions looked weird. I don't know, I've had issues with Gplates doing this kind of thing before. Maybe it was the settings I picked. I would say it was the settings I picked. Okay. All right, and then we are going to clipping mask. I just need to make sure that this is correct, or else it's gonna drive me crazy if it's offside. Okay, and now we can resize our canvas.
Nice.
Great. That's better. Great. I don't know. Yeah. Okay. So now we are here. That is not a clipping mask. That was a problem. All right. Great. Okay. So now we got that there so that we have a map that isn't going to bug me while I do this. We're going to pick yellow. Oh, yeah. We want our thermal equator. That's what was throwing me off. And we are going to have our... There we go. So this can come along here. And then what we're probably going to see is this rise up to here. It's a little too high, but that's probably what's going to be. We didn't mind making this a little hotter either. But where's the... Yeah, because it rises up to here. The scale is... Working with equirectorial maps is always an issue. Yeah, I mean, the thermal equator is probably going to rise up. All right, so that's here. And then it's very quickly and that's going to come down. So that's going to be our thermal equator in the summer. In the winter, it's going to be down here. So it doesn't matter all that much for the moment. They changed how you make groups recently, which has thrown me off a little bit. Am I in the box? Yes, I'm just kind of hunched over like a climate witch. All right. Great. So now we have our thermal equator, and it will, in this case, more or less match up with the ITCZ. I mean, yeah. So that would be good. Let's do our yellow. Let's do our low pressure system here. So this is going to be. It's too big. Going to be low. So in the northern hemisphere, the low pressure systems circulate the opposite direction from the high pressure systems. So we are. It'll just look like an arrow. Going to be bringing things in from this direction. Right, and that's a little too, oops. And we can lower it more if we'd like. Come on, don't do that to me. All right. And I erased that because we're going to have a high pressure area up here. So we'll notice that there is air coming in this way, but then you do have your mountains. So this is where we'll have our rain shadow effect, right? And like this is far away from this far away. I mean, you may still have it, but we'll see what the high pressure system's doing. And we can also see, what do we got here? I mean, this is just sort of like a general, right? Like when we have this sort of circulation, then we're going to be, just kind of bringing things in. When you're drawing the lines for yourselves, you just want to make sure that they're tools that you are using when you're going to be mapping your precipitation. So you want them to be illustrative for yourself. So you want them to be showing you where that precipitation is going to be going. So, it doesn't, having it going over the water isn't as useful, but having the directions over land is helpful. So now, if we have, so in the summer, this rising up causes your high pressure system to rise up. So we can, I made this too high again, and it's just because that's 30, 15, yeah. Yeah, I think it's better. And my lines are very thick as well, which is, I guess, demonstrate it. It's helping to demonstrate it, but it's not really helping with my measurements here. So 30. So our high pressure can move over here, and it's probably going to take on that kind of shape. Yeah, having the, however we want to do that. But what is going to be happening here is that from this high pressure system, wind is going to be moving this way. Yeah, let's make that shape. And then over here. Oh yeah, so if you had some maracas over there, great. So then these would be coming up that way, and then we would be moving the wind this way. Yeah, so let's rejig this a little bit. There we go, that's better. And this is just our rough draft. We are going to be changing this after we do the temperatures and stuff as well.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so and this is, and I'm primarily concerned about what's going on in here, because that'll help us shape what's happening in other places. And after we do our temperatures too, we will know, you know, where the low pressure systems will be for, you know, the storms that occur up there. So we have one over there, and then we are going to have, I mean, we don't know where the other continent is, so we just have a high pressure system in here. And it's going to be shaped, you know, small on one side and large on the other side, you know, so it's, they always tend to be shaped kind of like that. So this is going to be, so it's going to be going in that way. But we do also, and I did not draw it for taking this into consideration, so it's probably going to be up here more, because there's going to be space between these two elements, right? Like the thermal equator, which is probably where the ITCZ is going to end up. So if we go here, that's going to go there. And then from here, that's going to go up here. Yeah. And then that, of course, comes around. Not that that's necessarily useful for us. The other thing that we can have is this. These arrows are going up here, but then it will also be peeling into there too. So now we can start to get a sense of where this air is moving, right? So we've got air coming off here, going on to this area. Then we've also got air coming off around here into the low pressure zone here. But because of these mountains on one side, and then this high pressure zone is going to be moving air over land, right? So the air that is being pushed down here,
oh yeah,
it's going to be dry. Or, you know, there's going to be some moisture in there, but because like the around here in particular is going to be higher pressure, so we're not going to get air moving very much at sea level. And then when we do get it to start to move, it is moving from over land, as we see.
So this is sort of kind of like a little like wind tunnel moment happening here.
Yeah, so we got this stuff moving. And then the other thing, so yes, and then we were talking about the other part as well, where you're going to have these mountains up here in summer, and they're going to heat up, right? So let's move this, and we can think about where we would want the lower pressure, because what we're going to end up with is a bit of a, maybe a high pressure band or an area of higher, relatively higher pressure in one place, which will help move things in. So the question will be, will there be a gap here? Or will we just sort of have like a low pressure zone that kind of covers this whole area.
Ooh.
And I mean, if we do have a low pressure zone that covers this whole area, I mean, you may still get thunderstorms in here and that sort of thing. But again, you can get, you know, I believe for Köppen, up to 900 millimeters of precipitation a year and still be arid.
Okay.
So, you know, it's not a big concern. So we also have our low up in here. And we'll play around with where exactly we want it to be. So yeah, you'll have some stuff going on over here, but those winds are mostly parallel, so that's not going to give you the precipitation you'd want. Instead, again, we're going to have some circulation bringing this stuff in here. But yeah, we probably wouldn't have it that close to that high. And how high is this going here? Yeah, so we may want the low to be further north. We'd have like a little area over here that would bring in precipitation. But I think you're probably going to be getting your low up here. And if we move over here, so just as a very, you know, rough, and again, this is also like flat on a globe, so we'd bring it into, you know, I don't know, people use a blender or something. You can bring into G plates and make your little lines in order to make it more aesthetic. Yeah, to actually like get the lines moving properly, because these are not, I mean, I'd want them to be more swishy. These are too equal. There we go. And then over the northern hemisphere, up here is interesting. If you had a landmass up here, then it could hypothetically alternate between having higher and lower. Yeah, it could alternate between having higher and lower pressure. You, depending on sea ice, you know, those sea ice areas would probably have higher pressure on them, and maybe the surrounding seas would have lower pressure. For now, we can just treat it as having high pressure, and we can figure out what we want to do later.
Cool.
But, you know, so this is kind of what would be. So this is where we can draw in those arrows. But what you end up seeing is that you have low pressure here, essentially high pressure in the middle, lower pressure here, and then another high pressure band on top. So right, you create these bands in your hemispheres. So now, you know, this wind is being moved this way to get in here, right?
Yep.
And then this wind starts coming in here, and this wind would kind of meander in there as well. This tail end here is too close for the summer. So, you know, we have this coming off, and then that moves in. And then over here, of course, you've got that happening. And you may get something over here. And if you have something over here, then it's pulling in precipitation, like and if this ends up moving towards the coast, as it does, then we get that system where this area gets more precipitation. But as it is, we don't necessarily need to include that because we can simply, have the wind pulled in from the high pressure system we have in here. So this would just be the general layout of the summer. And then what this helps us do for the temperature guide is that it helps us figure out what is arid and what is not. And we can then, measure when, we can measure like the precipitation and those sorts of things. We can measure the distance that we have, and we can, decide how, intense we want certain things to be. Let's leave that. So then as we were talking about before, boom, layer rough circulation. Thank you. What do we want our arid to be? All right, so let's make it red for the sake of things. So this area is probably going to receive some precipitation in the summer, but we can say we can decide how much precipitation it's going to receive, whether it's going to be significant, whether it's going to be particularly significant. We can see how strong this low can be, because I would say it would be probably quite localized. We also have the situation with currents. That's the other thing we want to do. Let's do that really quick. So something that we notice about circulation is that it is what the kind of currents that we are interested in are surface currents. They are moved by the winds.
Yes.
And here now we have our winds. So this current is going to be moving up. Right? That is a warm current. And then we're going to have a cool current on this side. And it's going to be coming down. Voila!
Yay! I had one question that is now relevant presently, and is, will there be some sort of like smaller sort of convection current, like kind of where kind of like those like islands and the bays kind of go? So it would kind of go instead of like down into the west, it would kind of maybe have a cold current go down and like maybe up and around those group of islands there in that sort of like bay area.
Here?
Yes.
I mean, so what's happening? I mean, the wind would probably push water through here. I mean, we also have water moving this way.
Okay.
But what is more likely to happen is that, you could have cooler water coming here that's kind of piling up. But if you have water piling up in this bay, it's on the equator. So it's just going to be warm.
Okay.
I mean, we're interested in the circulation, like the movement of it. So we could, have, cool water moving in. But this is also summer and we have the thermal equator there.
Gotcha. Okay.
So then we have this moving this way, and then we can carry it across. Wonderful. this is going to get carried across, and then it's going to go down here too. Over here, I mean, the water stays warm for a while, but, you know, so you'd have the water being carried over, and then, yeah, cold coming down here. And then we could, for fun, just be like, oh, yes, it's a little warmer over here. I'm not going to bother making, you know, doing another one over there. I wouldn't. It's not reasonably different. Like the latitudes aren't significantly different. But knowing that this is probably a little cooler is useful. So yes, so then this goes up to here. So yeah, now this is all warm, which is nice, and we'll have like a warm sea breeze bringing precipitation in there, which is good. And then we can also notice that this air is then coming down this way. So our other circulation would be going down there. And then down here, oh, excuse me. It's just going to go like that. We don't know what else is going on down there, right? Like if
monkeys, there'd be monkeys.
There'd be monkeys down here. But like, you know, if there is some sort of cold circulation here, then I would just make it so it's not interfering on this side too significantly. So yeah, so then what this also helps us do is hello, Matthew Awesome. Awesome. Matt the Awesome.
Oh, that's how you parse it.
What are we working on? I'm doing manual climate mapping for the Boubaverse.
Yeah, so Matt, this is me and Jake's little world that we've kind of like are playing around with, making conlings for and populating with wonderful little peoples and creatures and such as. And yeah.
So this is one of the reasons why we are not going to get that much precipitation in here. We've got a cold current here. Cold water doesn't evaporate as much as warm water. So even though we have winds here that are bringing precipitation in, the amount of precipitation is not going to be particularly significant, right? It's probably going to be significant here.
Sure.
But it is going to start dropping off so that by the time we get into this area, which is, what was it, like 1,500 kilometers away, it's going to be quite arid out there, right?
Perfect.
So we can make it happen. It's going to be quite good. Similarly, right? Like, you know, even if we have some winds over here, we also have these cold currents, right? So, and we have parallel winds, we have cold currents. That leads to like this area could very easily be like Atacama desert level.
Ooh, okay.
Because like that's going to be pretty dry. That's going to be a very dry place. So like this is essentially, and how long? I mean, this didn't take very long. This took half an hour, right? Like, so this, and if you do not want to do the rest of the manual temperature method to audience or whatever, like, or you, I mean, it doesn't really matter to me, but like, we can just take this, grab our brushes from, grab our Copen colors and just say, okay, we have our continentality. We can figure out, we can just kind of like heuristically looking at patterns and stuff. You could come up with the climates once you have the summer and winter of this, right? Like you don't need to go through the whole process of like doing the isotherms and stuff like that. The isotherms and stuff like that's fun because it'll teach you more about climate. It'll also create interesting scenarios, right? Like this being subcontinental may not have been something that people would have picked up on if they didn't go through the process, right? So the process, through the process, you have this sort of emergent system that it creates interesting things that you wouldn't have considered otherwise. That's the same thing as going through this system, this sort of very quick method for doing precipitation. For doing like the air circulation and doing the currents, right? It's like, oh, based on where the air is moving, we can talk about what's going to be wet and what's going to be arid. And on top of that, by drawing in the currents, then it's like, okay, that has less the moisture passing over this is going to be less. The winds passing over that are going to be less moist than the winds passing over here. So you can create these emergent systems through engaging in these processes, which is why I think it's more useful, right? Like if you just looked at a map of North America and was like, oh, I'm going to draw that onto this, you're going to be missing out on the ingredients that kind of create that end step. So, I mean, you can create a map with a decent amount of verisimilitude by looking at patterns and doing that. I think Maddie has that guide.
Yeah.
Nikolai did that also at the SpecCon as well. So like you can have a map that has a good degree of verisimilitude, and very quickly for folks so they know what I'm talking about. Sometimes I see people talking about like making their climates accurate. From my perspective, I would say accurate to what? Right? Because if you make a measurement, you're comparing your measurement to
some standard.
Right, to the thing itself, right? Like, if I was to draw, or like, if I was to like in Blender make a sculpture of this pen, the question would be like, is my, Blender sculpture accurate? Like I can measure the dimensions, I can, do that. But the thing is, the worlds we're making, you can't compare.
Bingo.
So we're not creating an accurate world. We're creating a world that feels authentic, maybe. But we're creating something with a degree of verisimilitude, something that feels coherent and real, and that is convincing, right? Something that feels truthful without having that standard to compare it to. Yeah. That's what's that's kind of what we're trying to do. And it's all speculative, right? Because we don't have anything. But like just because it's speculative doesn't mean that, we
can't use the data that we're learning from our sample size of 1 to make it kind of like analogous to it. Yeah. So now don't like doing the winter ones. I like it when I can do summer first. Okay, so we are going to be down here, and it's probably... And at least for our Northern Hemisphere boyos, we're in summer right now, so it does help.
There we go. Did I do Northern Hemisphere winter? Yes, I did. Great. South Hemisphere winter? No, that is not what I wanted to do. Again, I am currently sick. And this is a group, not a individual layer. I'm going to say heat equator. No. Okay. Add another layer on top, which is going to be circulation. It's the wind circulation, but come on. This is for me, so I don't write on the top of the layers, and when I'm doing the layer stuff, I can go to it easier. And I do see a lot of people where they just have all their layers numbered, and it's like, no. Okay, let's do Southern Hemisphere summer. Great. Perfect. Exactly what we want. All right, so now when we were doing the circulation, I am going to, I think I made, I don't know why I made the thing yellow, whatever. All right, so there is going to be a high pressure system in this area.
Oh yeah,
I
it's
did this.
it's going to blend in, no pun intended.
Okay, cool. So there's going to be a high pressure system in here. You know, it's also very useful. It's on this side. That's great. So now that's going to come out. That is going to probably come down. Yeah, so let's do that then. And you may think that this area here, this area could be dry, right? But we're gonna keep going. We're gonna see what happens. But just paying attention to that area is important. So let's do that, and then whoop. And then we will, for the sake of it, say that there's going to be some low pressure storms over here, and they move down the coast.
Yep.
Right. So they are having the opposite circulation. Nope, it's coming in. Oh my goodness. It is not my day. All right. Can't draw. Okay, so, and then the idea is this would then move down the coast, and you see how this air movement works, right? That means that it's going to be hitting that coast.
Yeah.
So we're just going to keep it here. It's a reminder that it's going to be whipping down. All right, so we got that there. What is now likely to happen is that we're not going to have any low pressure in here. And our low pressure system is down this way. So we are going to, I mean, the winter is usually dominated by these high pressure systems. So it's more so like how the location of where the high pressure is. So now we're going to move this high pressure system off the coast. And it's going to be over like that. That's probably going to be the shape of it. So we still have that movement there, right? And that's going to be going that way. We are going to have the localized sort of movement of wind here. But we're just kind of detailing the more general circulation right now. And like before, we're going to do that. We're also going to have these boyos on this side as well. And look at this. Oh. So now, and I mean, we can do that. I mean, you can have, all of this can be Mediterranean. That's fine. So now, yes, we have wind, cold, dry air coming this way. We have moist, relatively warmer air coming from this way. They're going to collide on that coast, and you're going to have all sorts of storms and stuff. It's going to be great.
Yes.
Yeah, so we have that. And then you'll probably have something similar happening over here as well.
Okay.
More storms.
More storms. I mean, yeah, this is going to be... I mean, you know, we can figure out how we want this to be. I mean, you can have like several different nodes in a high pressure system. And then we're going to have... Where was that? That was over there. Boop. not very good. There we go. Sorry, yellow line. You're being deleted. That's terrible. All right, so now. Oh yeah, we haven't done the other one there. I was like, oh, all done. Oh, Matt, I never name my layers, and it results in holy confusion.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I agree with you. I used to be that way. Okay, and then we're going to have our other ocean, and whoop. Yeah. So whoop. Let's just say that's the high pressure system. He's saying hi.
Wow.
Amazing.
And yes, we do have this. And again, we don't know what's going on over here, so I'm not too
monkeys
worried, right?
More monkeys.
There would be monkeys.
So then, yes, we have these going this way. And then we are also going to have whoop. So, we're going to have that contact there. It's parallel, but we're also going to have warm currents.
Mm-hmm.
And we're going to have that sea breeze, land breeze movement bringing precipitation in. Same, Luna. I also like naming my layers and then end up
that's
on the
me.
wrong ones. Whoop. And then, we can just kind of play this out, right? Like, if we do this, oh, look, you're getting precipitation. Good job. So yes, this is going to be quite humid. I mean, there's a shorter fetch there, so you could end up with some areas that are drier than others, but and then over here, you do have these two bodies of air colliding to a degree, right? Like something could shift slightly. So again, there could be thunderstorms, but what would likely happen is that you'd have, they'd be happening like these air masses would maybe be collecting some precipitation here, going over here. This air mass, goes over here, loses most of its precipitation, and then they collide, and you have thunderstorms, right? So it's just something that happens. It's bringing precipitation. You could have like in the winter, and the winter here is like, let's be clear, I don't know, 18 degrees or something like that.
Yeah,
18
it's
degrees,
not like
20
freezing.
degrees. You have a thunderstorm in the winter, and then you've got flowers or whatever, popping up suddenly. So that could be quite cool. So yeah, this guy is moving down here, and this gal is the gender just changed, but that's okay. It's air. It constantly circulates. So that is moving this way. We've got this going down here, and then we also have let's do this. This coming off as well. So this band here is also where you could get storms because you have these two air masses coming together, right? So this is also one of our storm zones. And I think that's something that I actually like with... There's a lot to like about Nikolai's guide on the world building pasta. There's a lot to like. I think that incorporating low pressure and stuff, especially around the equator, helps produce expected outcomes for something like monsoons and these kinds of things. It is an extra layer of complexity, and people have to like know where to place things. But yes, something I do really like about it is that he includes those lines to say, like, this is where you're going to have... this is where you're going to have these storms, right? This is where you're going to have precipitation events, common precipitation events. And we can see that happening here. The pressure in those areas is not going to be low enough to facilitate a low pressure zone.
Mhm.
So it's going to be like, yes, it's going to be there. It will be areas of high pressure, but there also be relatively lower pressure,
Mhm.
and that will be, and again, like, you know, over here occasionally as well. Yeah. All right. So then the next thing we're going to do, and I think the last thing we're going to do, is draw in our rough.
Water.
Yes. Our water, our currents.
I thought you said war.
I
That is a
mean,
very American water.
water.
Or
When I taught high school chemistry, there's two words that my students always would repeat after me. It's water and iron, and it's just like
Iron.
they just come up often enough where like I would say them.
Oh, okay. Iron.
Yes, iron.
iron.
Or like one that has popped up recently is Arsh for like Irish.
Irish.
That's fun.
We have like a little Irish pub near us, so.
Mm-hmm.
Little Arsh pub. All right, and we're gonna do the same thing here. We're just gonna
Little Arsh.
So we're gonna do whoop, and we're gonna imagine.
Oh, yeah.
We're gonna imagine there's a North America here, just for funsies, just to give us some
current balance.
Whoop. Whoop.
Boop, boop.
I mean, you know, this could still be cold, like, you know, it's fine. But you know, whoop. We could say that it could move slightly, you know, seems it could move a few degrees, you know. So that would just this just kind of accentuates that this is a Mediterranean area. I'll make a world which is only monkeys. I've gone bananas.
Yeah.
Bananas. And then, of course, there's warm air going up here. Warm water going up here. And this is also going to contribute, of course, to those low pressure systems, right? Because you have these currents bringing warm water to an area that is likely going to be right up against ice, right? So
yes,
that is going to be a very fun time. And again, like, you're going to have cold water here coming down with the right color. You know, you're going to have some cold water coming down. Whoop. It's going to be cold, no question. It's also going to be relatively warmer than this continental landmass, which is going to be quite cold. So that will help this low pressure system when it moves through. Because it doesn't need to be hot, it just needs to be relatively warmer than the land. Water. All right, so then this will be whoop. And then, yeah, that cycles back. And then you also have, in the way I've done it here, we've got, we're assuming a kind of warm current coming back here. Which, you know, yes, here we have a split. We have the warm water going up, and then we have cold water going down. So that's why we get this low thing forming. Look at that.
Nice.
Brilliant. All came together.
Yay.
And then we've got this one that'll go this way into the Hudson's Bay. And then that will be coming down. And again, we are going to have this warm water coming up is what's going to be causing this. What else do I need to do? I don't think we really need to. Oh yeah, and then of course, whoop. And I'm doing it on the right layer. I currently am doing it on the right layer. And yeah, like, the current stuff doesn't take very long. I will. And I mean, there's probably just a current going here anyway. Like, this is not separate from what's going on in this area. And like, this stuff doesn't, yeah, stuff doesn't really move too much. I do see some folks like shifting their currents by like many degrees. But like these don't shift all that much.
Mhm.
Right? Like we're not seeing all that much movement in these areas. There are some like kind of enclosed seas where you may see shifts, like significant shifts in surface currents. Like I could imagine in here, for example, what's going on in the Oh no. Yeah, it's the same. I would imagine if we had like an enclosed sea over here, like this may cycle that way in one, like, you know, there may be like a complementary cycle in here where that's moving it that way in one season and it's moving it the other way in the other season. So you can get some small things, but like this isn't, if you were going to do what I've done for like Zalea, and for example, in that like close climate study, or the Taiki Sea was the Taiki Basin was a very good example of that. If you go in and you're doing like a regional climate study and you want to update it, then that stuff becomes a little more relevant. But like what it impacts tends to just be like along here, right? And what we're doing is, I mean, it would probably affect this area, but what we're doing is trying to getting this like, you know, hemispheric view.
Mm-hmm.
You have a very large tilt, like 70 degrees. Well, if we're using the continentality system, you would not have any hyperoceanic or probably any oceanic areas. Because where the sun is in the insolation change would mean that you would probably be seeing a world that is largely like subcontinental, continental, hypercontinental, as you see places that are essentially getting a lot of insolation and then no insolation, depending on the seasonality. And I don't know how. Yeah, so you'd probably end up Köppen-wise with a lot of D climates, pretty close to, yeah. So that could change. I recommend. I think Nikolai has done like climate studies on world building pasta, where he pumps these scenarios through. He pumps these scenarios through EPS, so you can look at EPS and kind of go through that. You can, and so you can look and see how EPS interprets those changes, and I think that would be, you know, broadly useful. I mean, EPS has its own issues and how it interprets data and how it goes through that, but yeah, I think you'd have a lot more areas that are, you know, microthermal if we're using Köppen, and yeah, because essentially like. And I don't know how well Köppen would reflect what's happening on the planet either, because, you know, you would be doing like, you know, in the summer, your thermal equator, what color were we using for that? Orange? Your thermal equator would be like up here. I made a new layer. Oh, I see what happened. It would be like up here. And so this area would be receiving summertime insolation, and then in the winter, it would be down here. So you'd see much larger swings, and what'd be interesting for your equator, no, that's not true. Maybe down here. Sorry, the grid threw me off. Where the grid begins and ends threw me off. Your equator area would be receiving insolation twice a year. So you would end up with like tropical conditions in the spring and autumn, and then winter conditions in the summer and the winter, if that makes sense. So I think that would be, I don't think Köppen would reflect what's happening very well. and I'm not really sure if the Hirschfeld system or the world building pasta system would kind of incorporate that either, because like, you know, you'd essentially have like 2 smaller seasonal years in 1 year. So yeah, I don't know. When you're presenting your climate and stuff like that, you may want to think about, and you're thinking about your like biomes and ecosystems and things, you may want to consider how that would impact it. But for today, I think that this went pretty well. I mean, there's one thing I did not include, which was the sort of polar circulation here. So this then would also be technically a place where you could get some stuff going on, but likely you are going to have ice here.
Yeah.
Something else, which we didn't really touch on, is that you, depending on what the rest of your world looks like, and this is something that we'd have to think about for when we're actually putting down our hot spots and cold spots and things next time. Are there continents in these areas? Because if the northern hemisphere doesn't have any landmass blocking a whatchamacallit, a current that's flowing along, and it'll be flowing along this way, then if you have a current that's flowing along this way uninterrupted or not particularly interrupted, then you can have like a very nice nursery for sea ice and stuff up there, and you can make it quite cold, you know, like we have, so that could make it quite cold, and that would be nice. Or you could have continents in the way that you know, push that kind of block this circulation, and then they would move a lot more warm water into that region, and that would kind of change the character of your of your pole, and that would impact what goes on with the low pressure systems and the extent of sea ice. It would also impact precipitation and those kinds of things in those areas. So that's something that you probably want to think about. I can drop these, I can export these and drop them into Discord for both of you, so that you can reference them when you're thinking about things. But yeah, next time we are going to do the hot and cold spot thing and talk about what the hot spots and cold spots are for. You can also invent more. You can create new ones depending on the situation that you're in. I did that when I was doing Dove, just because, again, these are heuristics that remind you to you know, engage with the climate and certain things.
Right.
So I'd like to thank everyone for joining the Lands Have a Bouba gang, for working on the Boubaverse here. I mean, I know a lot of people, you know, have been interested in working with the manual temperature method, and, you know, maybe want to see some more examples of someone working through it. If you have any questions about it, you can always throw them in the comments. I know, was it Goody Rictus has been doing that with the footnotes video, and I think that's a good use of the comments for that video. As a reminder, if you haven't already, you can like and subscribe. If you would like to support this and, you know, at some point maybe create more time, or I can create some videos for that, you can head over to the Patreon and sign up to be a member of the Speculative Geographers Guild. And if you do that soon, then you'll be able to see the next video come out, if you're at the Explorer tier, in the next week or so. Because I finished editing the audio, an hour and 7 minutes of raw audio, down to 40 minutes of runtime. So very excited.
Oh my God.
Do you have anything you'd like to plug or say before we go?
Yeah, I mean, we will be streaming in 2 days. We do it every Tuesday, 1:30 p.m. Pacific, 4:30 p.m. Eastern, 9:30 p.m. GMT or BST, whatever it is right now. And that's where you'll find us if you want to kind of look at our languages of the Boubaverse.
I wonder if it's summer now in July.
I don't think so. Depends on what hemisphere.
That's true. If you're in the northern hemisphere, it would be summer. But if you flipped it into the southern hemisphere, which is easy to do,
I wonder if the Falkland Islands also use British summertime, but use it for winter time. I don't imagine that would be the case, but anyway.
yeah. So
yeah.
everyone have a great week, and we will see you next time on Lands Unknown.
Bye.
Bye.